So today we have some presenters from Chesapeake Bank. They are going to speak to us today about fraud and scam awareness and the best practices to avoid becoming a victim. They're going to talk about trends, how to protect yourself financially, what to do if it happens to you, and then they have lots of free resources to share. We have Sherry Hogg, who's the fraud prevention manager. And Sherry has over 21 years of experience working for Chesapeake Bank. She oversees the fraud controls designed to prevent and detect transactional fraud. And her team strives to provide support and educational resources to employees, customers, and the communities. And we also have Martha Tiernan, who is the bank security officer. She's originally from New York, where she received her degree in criminal investigations. She has over 11 years of banking experience working in physical security, fraud and scam investigations, and specializing in investigative interviews and open source investigations.
Thank you for the introduction.
So, like she said, this is Sherry. My name is Martha. We work with Chesapeake Bank, and we're actually really excited to be here. This is a really awesome opportunity for us to actually hopefully be able to help a much wider range of people who, if you're like anybody else who is living in the world today, could use a little extra information about scams and fraud. Some of the trends that we see most often, things like the QR code. So even your QR codes here, which are lovely and they're great when you know what the QR code goes to, they're great. But we call them QR codes out in the wild, are less so. They are wild and they can go wild places. So whether it's at your gas pump or even being mindful of QR codes at restaurants, you know, does it look like it's a sticker that someone's put on? Really important to pay attention to, because an accidental scan of a QR code can lead to malware on your computer or your phone, which basically can cause all of your information that you have stored there to be compromised. Some of the other ones we see, a lot of scams, because we have to understand that scammers, this is their 9 to 5. This is how they make their living. And it's not usually just one thing they do. It's usually multiple things, but that's their profession. So they're good at it. So regardless of what your background, your history, we've had everything from stay-at-home moms to attorneys of 30 plus years fall for scams and fraud. So it's really important that people understand that it's not a failing on the victim's part. It is simply that that's what these people do for a living. So in line with some of that, they also work to prey on certain groups, or certain scams are targeted against certain groups. So work from home scams for folks who are looking for employment, but whatever the reason, they would either prefer to work from home or they would prefer a non-traditional job. So they get this check in the mail from this secret shopper, and it says, well, go deposit the check and then use it to go to a store, conduct your operation, you know, buy gift cards, send the gift cards back or whatever, and you get to keep the difference. What the victim doesn't know is the check is no good. It's gonna come back in a couple of days. So that's one of the ones that we've seen in the past a lot more, but there's twists. But same idea, they're picking on, or they're victimizing someone who is in a vulnerable position because they are looking for employment. We see online purchases. Who here has seen a really nice puppy for sale on Facebook? I bet that puppy was super cute and probably does belong to someone, but it's not the person trying to sell it to you. Please don't buy stuff off Facebook Marketplace. Or at least don't send them Zells, don't P2P. Those are really great tools if you know the person that you're talking to, like actually know them, not just they're your Facebook friend. Because a lot of those transfers, when you send it intentionally, even though you're being scammed, it is not the same as if someone fraudulently stole your money. You gave it. And it's a really hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, but those are two very, very different things, because we have to let people do kind of what they want with their money by and large, so to speak. But we also can't stand there and be like, well, we understand that you were scammed, but you sent it on purpose. So please be very conscientious about what you see online for sale, and how you look at buying it. Some of the other ones we see, a big one we see for folks who are perhaps in an older generation or a more financially secure generation, Bitcoin investment. I hear a little kind of giggle, and they're really good. I'm not going to lie. Some of the Bitcoin investment scams are really, really good because they have you wire the money to another bank and they show you this app on your phone. They have you log into, and here's the link that works. They're really good. They're really in depth. I would caution, do not work. It's actually a really distasteful name for the type of scam it is. It's called pig butchering, because they have oftentimes a secondary person say, oh, I'm going in on this investment with you. So you see this account on your app that shows that you've invested money and this other person's invested money. So now the balance is this big. And then you get this payout, but you leave it in the app, of course. And so then you invest more. What you don't realize is that the app is fake. The other person's not actually investing, and they're fattening up the account till you've invested huge amounts of money into it. And that's when they flip the trap and it's over. Your money's gone. So be very, very, very cautious if Bitcoin is something that you look at. It's not that Bitcoin is fake, but some of your investors online are very much so.
And I would just add to that, we've seen cases where, it's not that it's not legitimate. Bitcoin is real. You can invest in it. Just do your due diligence. We've met people and they've been like, this is real. This is it. I can see it. Everything's on here. It's legit. I can see your dollars going in it. But when we ask them, can you withdraw from it? Can you transact on it? That's when they realize, like, I don't have any control over this account. And they had lost all their money, unfortunately, at that point.
And it's really hard because there's an emotional and psychological connection there, because they'll have been speaking with this person online for days, weeks, months sometimes. They have a much more deep-seated relationship with that person than they do with, say, us when we call trying to tell them that you're $30,000 in the hole and it's only going to get worse if you don't stop. That's a really, really hard fact to come to terms with. Have you heard about the blue box break-ins? Nope. So a lot of businesses are hearing more about this, where people are copying the keys to get into blue boxes, and it's the blue postal boxes that that you might walk out and put your letter in or your check to pay your bill. Please don't. Please stop. Because they're stealing these checks, and they're either outright creating a complete counterfeit check, or they're washing off parts of it and then processing the check at a different financial institution. And the person who's supposed to receive the check never receives it. So if it was a bill that someone was paying, they don't know their bill didn't get paid, and the company that they're supposed to be paying naturally is upset because they didn't get their money. And of course, the victim is potentially they short-term lose funds in their account, of course, because it's fraud. It's true fraud. They're generally reimbursed, but the point remains that it's still your account number is out there now, because your account and routing number, your name, oftentimes your address, all these things are on your checks. So be very, very mindful. If you have to mail something like that, please just go into the post office and do it. And especially if you have any business customers or any businesses that you help, please encourage them to do the same. Even like the mailbox at the end of the road, the end of your driveway, be conscientious. People, they call it it's fishing, where they fish through your mail to find something. I think, last one for your young, because I see we're here at a Boys and Girls Club. You have, our children are groups that you folks help. As they go from children to young adults, what we see a lot of is, they call it card cracking, and it targets young adults who are on social media, oftentimes right about that college age, because they see them on social media and it sounds like a good, quick way to get money. And because I don't want to call them children, but they're very, very young adults, don't fully understand the consequences of doing this They don't realize that it's illegal and that they can catch charges and potentially jail time, lose their bank account, that sort of thing. So the way it works is someone would approach them on social media, Snapchat, Instagram. Hey, you know, I've got a check. I don't have a bank account of my own. If I can deposit the check at your bank and then withdraw most of the funds, I'll let you keep a couple $100 of it for helping me out. And you can tell your bank that you lost your debit card. What they don't tell the victim who has the legitimate bank account, the check's no good. They're going to use that debit card. They're going to go to a Food Line, ATM, someplace, and drain that account for everything they can. Everything they can. The check's going to come back, and because the account holder gave the account by giving the debit card, gave the PIN, they gave them access. That's authorization to use your card. And so they basically get stuck holding the bag. They're a victim, but because they also helped facilitate this, and then they unfortunately lie to their bank and say, well, I lost my debit card, and then we find out, no, you didn't really. It puts them in a really, really bad spot at a really vulnerable point in their life, and it's not something that anyone enjoys investigating, and it's really not something that there's no joy in catching the bad guy in that, because the bad guy is your customer, and they're essentially a very young adult. So with that on our trends, on that very happy note, right? I'm going to turn it over to Sherry here. She's going to go through some of the how to protect yourself.
So I do have one more I want to touch on, the felony linking.
Oh, yes.
We want to talk about that because that's something we're seeing actively in different regions. We've experienced this. Anybody heard about the felony linking? Familiar with it? Know what it is? So I think we should describe that a little bit.
So it's not actually a specific gang. It's actually a modus, a method that the fraud or the scam is conducted. You'll see rashes where people, like at gyms, like the very nice one that's right next door, people will have a series of cars broken into, information stolen out of, and what this group of individuals will do is they'll mix and match the information. So they've got Sherry's driver's license and Martha's checkbook. And so they'll find a female in their group and have her dress up to look like Sherry as much as possible.
Put wigs on, and I mean
they'll give Sherry's ID to the fake Sherry and a check from Martha's checkbook that says to Sherry for whatever amount, and Sherry will go. The fake Sherry will find the real Sherry's bank and go in pretending to be her, or go through the drive-through lane, which is where we get that lane gang part, because they used to go through the third lane of the drive-through. Now they'll even go inside and try to cash or do what's called a split deposit, where they'll deposit part of the check, pull the rest back in cash. But basically this is devastating to the victims, because for the real Sherry, her ID is stolen, potentially her account is compromised if the bank didn't recognize that the person was impersonating her. The effects are long-lasting and very frustrating to recover from, and there's multiple victims, and it can be really difficult to kind of piecemeal out whose information, what information, when were we talking to our actual customer, when were we seeing the fake Sherry. So if you see somebody who has their vehicle broken, please tell your bank.
Yeah.
If you tell us, we can put notes on an account so that if someone comes in trying to cash it, regardless of whether they look like you or not, we can take extra steps to verify. So it's always important, if your stuff is stolen, even if you're like, well, none of my bank stuff was in the car, please tell your bank.
Yeah, because a lot of times it could be like they'll find a receipt in your car. So something as simple as you made a deposit earlier and you've got your deposit slip receipt in there. If they find that and then they steal your ID, they know where you bank. So then they're going to use like the other person's check and bring it in there and try to cash it off of your account. Because more than likely you've got an okay account. You know, if you've made a deposit, they can see it. And so they're just using it as a resource to go in and out. And like Martha said, the sooner you tell us, the sooner we can put alerts on your account. We can do an extra password verification, anything like that. If you're in, we can ask you for a code. There's all kinds of things we can put in place to help protect you and stop that. So, all right. So now that Martha shared all the scary stuff,
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here
let's
to
talk
terrify
a little
you.
bit about what we can do to protect ourselves. So thinking back to what Martha was saying with the card cracking the ATM, so the person, the bad actor, is going to bring a check in and deposit it, or they're offering you a check. Hey, deposit this. So a lot of that is deposit liability. And, think to the online, like the work from home scams and things like that. I'm going to pay you this amount of money. Well, you can take it to the bank and you'll try to deposit it, and we may accept it, or the bank, your financial institution may accept it. They may even put a hold on it, and then the funds get released. And so you're thinking that it's a good check, that the funds are good, you're taking it, you're using it, whatever you want to do with it at that point. That check can come back up to years later, and you would be liable for that loss. So just keep that in mind. If you're not expecting a payment, it wasn't yours, it's too good to be true, just use extra caution with those type of scenarios. Some other things we can do is a lot of financial institutions and credit card companies offer online tools and resources. You can monitor your account daily. You can set up dual control for business accounts for transactions. You can have different signers, authorizations. You can put passwords, passcodes. We talked about those. You can even lock your card down. So if you're not going to be using your card for a while, lock it. Same thing with your credit card. If you have a credit card that you just have like for an emergency and not really using it, most of them offer like you to toggle it and turn it on and off. So that way it's not, if you lose it, you don't have to worry about somebody picking it up and using it. That's a good tool. Martha talked a little bit about checks. The blue boxes, don't mail checks unless you have to. And if you do have to, take them inside the post office and drop them off. Don't use the blue boxes. Reach out to your financial institution or somewhere else and see if there's an alternative payment method that would be a little bit safer, more secure for you to use. We talked about freezing your credit. You can reach out to any of the credit reporting companies and you can freeze your credit so nobody can do loans in your name if they steal your identity.
And you don't have to reach out to all three, which
No,
is really nice.
just
A lot
do
of people,
one.
that's a big misconception. A lot of people think you have to call all three credit bureaus. Truthfully, you only have to call one. Now, to be clear, the calling one won't instantaneously have the other two on alert, but they will communicate. It used to be like up to a week or so.
Yeah.
They may be
Slight
faster
delay.
now, but what it used to be is that you could call one and within a week, the others would also be in line having your credit frozen. That doesn't mean that you can't do anything with it. You might have to go a couple extra steps because you go to buy that car and they're like, well, the credit's frozen. You might have to reach out and verify that it's you actually trying to buy the vehicle. But with the amount of information available about everyone on the web, that's real. It's not a bad idea.
Another thing we can do is, so we talk about text scams and things like that. So if you get involved in a scenario and you're just not sure, you receive something in the mail and you're kind of iffy about it, talk to somebody you trust. Take it to your financial institution, talk to your friend, your family member, something like that. So just share your story and see if it makes sense, because sometimes we get caught up in it. And like Martha said earlier, anybody can become a victim because they're good at their jobs. The fraudsters are, and it's a scary place out there sometimes.
Emotional investment that
Definitely.
when you're in a situation, you can't always see it. And I will be the first one to tell you, at 18, I very nearly fell for a cruise scam. And while I was in the moment, because they use social engineering tactics to do things like create a false sense of urgency. So if someone's trying to hustle you and tell you, you got to hurry up and do this or it's going to be gone, the sale's going to be over, whatever it is, that's the time to say, hold up. I'm not going to lose anything if I miss this sale or this really great opportunity, but I stand to lose a lot if I just jump on board without thinking. And that can be really hard in the moment. So it's really important that if you're not sure about something, the biggest thing you can do to protect yourself, call your bank and be upfront. Especially if someone's trying to tell you that, well, you can't tell anyone because you're part of the investigation. That's one of the ones that is really, it's sadly very effective.
And they've said your bank is involved.
Yeah, we actually spent a couple weeks with a gentleman because they told him that the bank was under investigation, and it took quite a little bit to get him to understand that I'm the good guy. And that's a really hard thing to break.
So another thing, we talk about the scams and being involved in them. If you receive an alert, the big one right now is the toll. I don't know if anybody's received the toll text. That's the big one going around. Yep, just
Yes,
delete
tell
it.
your friends.
Yes.
Tell your friends.
That one almost got me, and I'm usually until I went to their website and things were misspelled. I think
Mm-hmm.
So-
Maryland or
If you
Yeah.
click on it, did you click on the link they sent you?
Yeah.
Oh, go get your phone cleaned.
okay.
Yeah.
That's a really, and it's, I'm not saying that they're 100% that they've put malware on your phone, but that's a real possibility that just by clicking on the link that they put malware on your phone. Because unfortunately, once you've been a victim once, they have a huge network where they share the information.
So another thing with that, if you do receive an alert and you're not sure, like maybe you have been driving to Maryland or New York, wherever, and you got that, maybe I did run a toll. Just call, look up the number and call them yourself. Don't use that link at all. Don't click on it. Same thing with your bank, the debit card transaction. Hey, did you authorize this transaction in Texas? And then you're like, no, that wasn't me. The first thing you want to do is click and get that help. And what they're going to do is coach you into giving them your information. So they're going to say, okay, let me get this reversed for you. Now I can order you a new card. Let me get your online banking and password.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
I'm going to help
We
you
don't
right out of
need
everything
it.
you own.
So yeah, they're gonna. We don't need that kind of information. So don't feel bad about hanging up on a call, because we at the bank, we would prefer, like, even if it is us, hang up and call us back if you're unsure. It's okay.
You're talking about the text. We do send out a fraud
We
alert.
do,
Hey,
we
is this
do.
transaction yours?
Yeah.
It's okay to not respond to that.
Yeah.
Call them back.
Just call us and we'll take care of it. It's not a problem. So now that we've talked about the fraud and scams and how to protect yourself, like we said earlier, the fraudsters are really good at their job. This is their full-time job. What can you do after you've clicked on a link or, been involved in a scam? So the first thing we ask is that you contact your financial institution immediately. The sooner we can get the alerts, there are some things we can do on the backside that might help recover or stop the fraud. So that's a huge step. Another thing is report to law enforcement if necessary. Share your story. If there's others that need to be involved, they're a great resource. And then we also ask that you report to the Federal Trade Commission. So on the resources over there, a lot of the information on the back is what to do and how to report. And it gives you the information, the numbers.
It's step by step, that FTC website.
Yes.
They literally, they ask all the right questions. It's step by step. They make it as easy as humanly possible.
Yeah, and they even have a thing, so if you're worried about your identity and maybe your identity's been compromised, it's a step-by-step thing, and they actually guide you through the whole process. So it's not overwhelming, it's easy to go through.
I will say, this is a big law enforcement and regular society. There's a lot of confusion because we say call law enforcement and you're gonna call the police and they're gonna be like, well, we can't help you. Understand that your local law enforcement, they can investigate crimes that have a physical location. So if a check was passed at a bank or your information was stolen from your car, those are physical things that happened at a physical location. I tried to buy a puppy online and I didn't get my puppy, but now I'm out $3,000. There's no physical location for that crime to have occurred. There's no way for them to investigate it. So we say report to them and they'll tell you if they can or can't. But even if they can't, there is the FTC website that's over there. IC3.gov, we've got information about that. Any online crime, online crime, you want to report through there because it does go to the FBI. And even if you don't get that immediate, the case is investigated and gratification, they put these together and your information can help put together what they need to stop a whole ring of fraud and scams. So try not to let the lack of immediate gratification on it or the immediate resolution stop you. You're helping solve the problem. You really are. Law enforcement, your financial institution, that's really important because a lot of folks get upset if their bank doesn't catch the fake transaction. If we don't know that there's potentially a problem, it's a little harder for us to run algorithms and things like that to try and prevent fraudulent transactions. Keeping in good contact with us helps us help you. I know that banking used to be about on the same level as lawyer. Those words were kind of synonymous for the level of evil. I promise you, that's not really the case, at least for banks anymore. Even if it's not your bank, asking questions about something, asking for financial advice, or hey, does this sound legit to you? We do that. We've got fraud departments. We do we offer anything we can because even if we're going to go from the very, very base business level, if you're not succeeding, we're not succeeding. So at the end of the day, no matter what, altruistic or not, it's in our best interest to help you. And I think we're probably close on time.
Yeah.
I'm
Any
really-
questions?
Yes, how do we know that it's the real you, Sherry?
Great question.
Yes, I would suggest that you call your local branch, somebody you know, and ask them, and they'll transfer you to me, or I can call you back. I mean, we can video call, but even that with AI, you never know.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I
Dirty
always
word.
recommend you call your local branch, and they'll get you in contact with me.
Are the gas pump readers still an issue?
Yep. Some of this stuff is going to be an issue forever. The information's online. So when as Deborah very nicely said, that I do open source investigations. What that means is I don't pay a penny because I'm cheap. And I go all over online and I can find all kinds of information about you. If I've got your name and maybe your birth date or the last town you lived in, I can usually find your phone number, your family, where your family lives, your criminal history, at least in the state of Virginia and probably others. I can figure out other jobs you've had, people you know. And it
Social
sounds really,
media.
really scary. And I promise I'm not like a full-time creeper, but when we're investigating these scams, sometimes we have to do that. So please understand your information's out there. So when they call you and they know your name, don't let that be the standard on which you hold their legitimacy of the call. I can find your name. I could probably put a picture of you online and run it through an AI facial recognition program for free and find you. So yeah, it's all out there. Call your bank. Yes, sir.
To his question, and it just came to my mind, some of the gas pumps, you can search your card or you can touch it. Now, is one safer than the other?
So I recommend tapping your card where you can.
Yeah.
That's where you touch your card to it.
Right.
Wawa even has a neat thing now where you can do it with your phone. So my husband, he doesn't even use his card at the Wawa pump anymore. He uses his phone. So there is that is an option. Even so, don't be surprised if every, I don't know, I don't want to say with any frequency, but don't be surprised if ever you get a letter from your bank saying that a card of yours was compromised, because the dark web is a real thing. And the information is, they go through a whole variety of different processes to either find or create the information to steal it. So they change your card to help protect you.
I will say a lot of that is like a proactive approach from financial. It's not necessarily your card. It could be like a group, impossible.
You may not have a fraudulent transaction on the card, but it's to protect you from it.
And one other thing, I don't know whether you all been getting, I've been getting them right and left, these missing persons being notified by a yard sale.
It's
That's
don't.
a scam.
It's a scam. There's a lot of those out there and people are taking advantage of other people's misfortune and crises, where you'll see somebody post something that their family member has had something terrible happen. And then a little ways down, you'll see the one I saw was holistic medicine for cancer or something like that.
Right.
And don't click on those. Just report those profiles. Every time you see them, just report them. It's really sad, but that's what they've reached the point. Somebody has a major accident or something, and some fool's on there posting about, take this herb and you won't have cancer anymore. And it's clickbait, so that you'll go to their site and either purchase their nonsense or have malware or something downloaded. Yes, sir.
I don't know, somebody had talked about the phone calls.
Oh, yep, they're there.
As in, they're trying to get your voice.
Mhm.
And so they'll ask you a question and they want you to say like yes or no, and then they use that then to go back and get some kind. So they said, hey, just hang the phone up. Do not answer any questions. Don't confirm or deny anything, because they're trying to get you to answer like a yes or no. And is this Dan Nye? Yes. Now they got you, and they have the voice. They can use AI then to go and do other things.
So
Yes.
it used to be a fun time to mess with these people, because if you're taking up my time, I'm going to take up yours. We can't do that anymore. They've cut into my fun. I don't even, if I don't recognize the number, I either don't answer or I'll answer with low, which makes it sound like I've said hello, but they're literally getting one syllable from me, and then I'll wait. And if there's somebody there, real or machine or whatever, give it a minute. They'll come on the line, and then you can just hang up. If it's a legitimate business that calls you, so like if they say they're with, Rappahannock Electric Cooperative or Dominion Power, and you can still hang up and then call Dominion Power back. But yes, try not to give them anything more than what you have to. If you don't know the number,
Let it go to voicemail.
listen to your voicemail. That's the other end of that. Listen to your voicemail, but yeah, let it go. I don't know anybody who lives in Florida or California, so I don't really think I've got much need to talk to anybody from there. They can talk to my voicemail. Yes, ma'am. Oh,
And I'm getting the sense that this is not just me, but I have the feeling that everything is lurking out there. I did get the texts I got 2 of them for the toll. Delete.
Yes.
And I routinely get, click here if you did not make this transaction, and it's some ridiculous thing. Delete.
Yes.
yeah, no tech support. Tech support's not volunteering on your computer to help you. They're volunteering to help you out of all your money. So yeah, don't click on them either.
Thank you. If anybody
Yes.
else has any questions and we didn't get to those today, you can let me know and I'll get them to respond.
Yes.
And we can put them in the minutes. Same thing in the chat. If you have questions, you're welcome to drop them in there and I'll be sure to get Sherry and Martha.
And
Yes,
please
thank
help
you,
yourself to
guys.
the materials in the back, share them. Also, one last thing we wanted to offer is if you have different groups that you represent, we'll do the same thing and we can gear it towards specific groups or specific topics for your group. Because we know you represent a lot of people and a lot of people get victimized. So we're happy to help however we can. Thank you.
Thank you.